All right. Looks like we got a show. And here we go. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance, go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau all across the great state of Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, that's your local Farm Bureau insurance agents in all 82 counties. How are y'all today? What is it? Wednesday? Hump day? Halfway point of the week? Yeah, I hope that everybody listening was able to get through the storms and stuff yesterday safely. You know, albeit this radio show didn't make it through there safely. We got zapped right in the middle of our interview yesterday afternoon. I had Larry Pugh, fisheries biologist, on the phone. We were talking about fishing, and 2 different times, bang, we had to reconnect, then pop, and then it was gone, and that was it. And I think like all the lights went out too. So I got to ask Beaver about that here in a minute as well. If you're tuning in here today on this Wednesday, plenty to get into. You know, if you're a State fan, you're probably still scratching your head about basketball. Just, you can't figure it out, can you? It's a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde going on with Chris Jan's team this year. And more of that last night. More of the, what would that be last night? Jekyll? One or the other, but it was bad. I know that much. So State fans aren't feeling it, you know, these days. You know, basketball's reeling a little bit, not playing its best down the stretch. And then, you know, baseball is getting knocked around, hit around, beat, losing midweek games. And now you got another big one tonight. State's going to host Southern Miss, so we'll get into all of that. So whatever you want to get into today is cool with me. And there's lots of ways for you to be a part of the show. I've got plenty of hot coffee here in my thermos from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. And so just pull up to the table. I'll pour you some coffee and we can jump right in. There's several ways for you to be a part of the show. You can comment on the live stream. So if you're watching the live stream on YouTube or Facebook or X, formerly Twitter, feel free to drop a comment. That'll get you in here and we can pop it up. You can also text me on the Country Pleasing text line. Number to text is 885-3776. Another way to remember the text line number is this, 885-ESPN. Maybe that's easier for some to remember. And, of course, you can call me. Also, I get to hear your voice that way, which is really fun. People get to hear somebody else's voice other than mine. They probably appreciate that. 897-1059. Got it? That's the number to call. 601 number also. 897-1059. Well, he was displaced by the weather. And I hopefully things are getting back to normal today for Beaver. Hey, B.
Hey, Matt Wyatt.
So not only was your work day interrupted yesterday because of a power outage, sounded like your personal life as well.
Yeah, so that was a saga. So, yeah, let's start here with the workspace yesterday. Okay. Yeah, so obviously anyone that was listening around 10 after 1, you were talking to Larry Pugh, and then, boom, nothing. Just silence.
Just out.
Yeah, so what had happened?
See, what had happened was...
Yeah, the generator. I never heard the generator kick on, and I knew immediately, well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that power lasts about 20 minutes if that generator doesn't kick on.
Uh-huh.
So then everything died. I'm talking 105.9, 99 Jams, Kixie, Gospel Station, our other sports talk, news talk, everything in the building, all the lights, everything. We just went down. All our stations were down, all the lights were down, everything. And get out there, open up the generator, belt gone bad.
Oh.
Seems like the people that, you know, do maintenance on the generator, the actual company, not us, not George, not our engineer, seems like the people who whose job to maintain that, seems like they fell down on that job.
Beaver, so, wait a minute, time out. You discovered that it was the belt? You went and checked it yourself?
Oh, no. Okay. I'm not going to take credit for that. I know nothing of generators, especially the large generator back there. Okay. No, that was all George. I was back there. I was basically like the 8-year-old child who's helping dad like fix something. I basically just stood there and held screws and handed them to George, and just handed him what he needed, and all that business. So
right.
yeah, I didn't do much, but I like to I like to claim a little bit of, maybe I did like 1% of something.
Gotcha.
So anyway, say they fell down on their job. So speaking of falling down, then I learned just before I get home that apparently a tree fell on some power lines near our neighborhood. So total blackness. So I said, all right, well, I'm not even gonna mess around. I'm gonna go straight to get a hotel room.
Okay.
All right, Matt Wyatt. Well, then I told you when I got in the hotel, I'm on the 4th floor. I get in the elevator. I go up, and as soon as it opens, I'm greeted with there's 2 trash cans in front of me, and on top of one of the trash cans is a completely empty remnants of a 48-pack of oatmeal cream pies. So of course I think Matt Wyatt.
Right. And you thought about me. You sent me a picture of it, and the comment was a 48-pack exclamation point. I didn't even know that existed, exclamation point. Someone somewhere on this floor is partying. And what's funny about that to me, Beaver, is thinking about some sort of party, quote unquote, a party, that one of the big things about this party is that we all get an oatmeal cream pie. You know what I'm saying? Up to 48 of us. Oh, I didn't know those existed either. Where do they even sell a 48-pack of OCPs?
That's a good question. Now, Matt Wyatt, the saga didn't in there, because let me tell you what happened later that night.
Let me hear what happened.
I am sitting there. I'm laying there watching some TV at this hotel, and I don't know why, but I went to check I checked the Energy app, and they got a map. You can put in your address, and it'll show you a map. And if it's green, you got power. If it's red, you don't. About 10 something. I go to check that map, and all of a sudden I see my neighborhood's got power. So I said, well, I guess 3.5 hours is long enough for this hotel room. And I went home.
Still had to pay for it, a night's rest at a hotel, but it was just
some
vacant.
might say that's a loss. I took a gamble and I lost, but I'd much rather be at home than in a hotel room, so I don't feel too stung by it.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about hotels, right? Is that when you're away from home and you're out of town, like a nice, clean, quiet, comfortable hotel room is really a luxury. It's great. But if you're in your own hometown, it's just not a luxury. You just want to be at your house. I've been through that before too. Well, yeah, wait a minute. I got to back up. A 48-pack of oatmeal cream pies. And folks, like this picture Beaver saw where someone had cleaned it out. Like it's empty. And the 48-pack of oatmeal cream pies, the box, is all that's left. It would not fit into the garbage can at the hotel. There's 2 of them beside each other. One's for recycling. The other one, it says waste. You couldn't get it in the waste. So they just sat it on top of it. Empty and all. 48-pack. So it does sound like Beaver is slowly but surely, getting back to normal. Lights are on in the studio. Hey, Beav, when it all went out yesterday during the show, though, well, I mean, there are no windows, so I imagine it being like pitch dark, can't see your hand in front of your face in that studio there.
Yep, that's exactly how it was.
I mean, like dark, like in a room, no windows, with the door shut, dark. Well, I'm glad it's back to normal. All right, where are we? Okay, let me see where I am. Hail State fan on YouTube, he commented. He said the weather knocked out my work phone, but he says at the post office that can be a good thing. Why didn't they answer the phone yesterday at the post office? Well, we'll just blame it on the weather. Scott, thanks for the picture. He sent me a picture and said crappie fishing is about to get good. 2-pounder on Sunday. Look at that. Man, that's a nice one. And good photo, too. You got the whole technique, got the Bill Dance technique working, where you hold that fish way out there next to the camera. I'm guilty. I'm guilty, too. I know that technique. No, but that's great. And it is about to get good, right? I'm getting shallower and shallower. Spawning right around the corner. Well, and maybe earlier in some areas than others, closer to it in some areas than others. You get south of here. But, yeah, that's the thing, too. Okay, Scott, I don't know who you're a fan of, but let's just say you're a Mississippi State fan and your basketball team is floundering. Get it. Get the fishing pun there. Your baseball team's kind of like flopping around on the deck right now, just gasping for water. That's kind of how it feels, right? And of course, it is early. And so the consolation is none of that is as important as crappie fishing, which this is prime time. Patches letting us know on the Country Pleasing text line, Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. Said Sam sells a large pack of OCPs. I'm not sure if it's 48. This is a 40. What do you even, I don't know. I've never seen that before. I've never even seen a box that would contain 48 oatmeal cream pies in one box. Beeve found a unicorn over there. The remnants of a party. White Denzel texts the show. He said, another Mississippi State men's basketball game where an unknown role player has a career game against us. Isn't it unbelievable? Like, that guy's averaging like 4 points a game, no joke, and he's 20-plus last night in the hump. It's tough. It's tough. Now, I would absolutely 100% agree with this. PT for MSU texts the show. He said, I can see Beaver taking a peek just to make sure there isn't a straggler or two left in that box, and says I'd have done the same thing. Beav, did you glance into the box, see if there was any left in there?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, he did. There's no doubt he did. That's what maybe means.
I'm not above going full Costanza. If it's on top of the garbage, hovering like an angel.
Yeah, not in the garbage, hovering like an angel. That's great. Oh, last thing before we do headlines, Beav, you found the peanut butter nutty buddy version of the oatmeal cream pie that's out, right?
Well, now I can't take credit. I didn't find it. That credit goes to PT for MSU. That man,
PT.
Just before everything went to chaos yesterday. Or no, was it just after? Because I was in here getting everything going again, and all of a sudden there he is at the studio door. And this man, he brought me a box, not only a box, because this man was not messing around. He brought me a big pack of them.
Meaning what? They are bigger, or it's more of them?
They're bigger.
Really?
Like, because remember, someone brought this to our attention with the OCPs one time. Mm-hmm. You get a bigger OCP.
Oh, so you've got a bigger. All right. We're talking.
I did save you some, by the way. So
Atta baby.
You better get here quick.
Okay. There's a shelf life on your generosity, Beaver. You got a week, Matt. Beyond that, they're mine. Well, that'll be fine, too. I'll be there within a week for sure. For sure. All right. We're off and running. And what's next? Top of the hour? Let's do it. Headlines. Here we go.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group and Went. Powered by Illuminate Bank. Check them out at mortgagemanms.com. First up, State loses in overtime last night to a Texas team that had 5 SEC wins before that one. Texas went in there 5-11 in the league. State a 20-win team, and now they fall a game below 500 in the SEC. They're now 8-9 after that overtime loss. Texas wins 87-82. Some kid named Mark, who nobody ever heard of before, scored 24 points for Texas because State cannot defend the three. Can't do it, period. End of story. I mean, a big enough sample size is what it is. Got to overcome that. Can't defend it. Texas A&M with a huge upset last night at home in College Station. They beat number 1 Auburn 83-72, a nice 11-point win over the top-ranked team. Kentucky destroyed LSU in Lexington 95-64. Do the math on that. It'd be, 31 points? Yep. Georgia with a 9-point win on the road at South Carolina, and Arkansas went to Vanderbilt in Nashville and whooped them 90-77, a 13-point win at Vandy. And it's a big win for Arkansas. They're now 7-10 in the SEC. And when State and Arkansas play one another in the final regular season game coming up, an Arkansas win would tie them with Mississippi State in the SEC standings. State's going in there at 8-9. Arkansas is going in there at 7-10. And so that's the matchup in Fayetteville that's coming up. There's a little bit of a look at the men's basketball results in your headlines. And, of course, Ole Miss is going to play tonight. They're hosting fourth-ranked Tennessee. And a huge game in Tuscaloosa tonight with Alabama hosting Florida. That's 7 hosting 5. We're talking about rankings there for those who care. All right, speaking of rankings on the baseball diamond, because of that weather yesterday, the game got pushed back in Starkville, and so it's today, a 4 p.m. first pitch between 20th-ranked Southern Miss and Mississippi State at Dudy Noble Field. And so that's a 4 p.m. first pitch, State and Southern, Dudy Noble. Also at 4 today in Oxford, Ole Miss, 17th-ranked Ole Miss, going to host Murray State. Ole Miss was going to play 2 midweek games, but the one yesterday bounced because of weather. And, so they're going to play one today. That's against Murray State. You've got some other SEC baseball games. We'll get into those later on. It's all midweek stuff, obviously. So early in the year, some good matchups, some not so good. And then finally, here in our headlines, brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank. The Las Vegas Raiders are expected to release quarterback Gardner Minshew when free agency begins next week. That's according to a source at ESPN. Now, Gardner is 28 years old. He's still just a young pup. I don't care what anybody says. Now, he may be 2 years past his scientific athletic prime, as they say, but I don't care. 28, he's got a lot in front of him. He had signed a 2-year, $25 million free agent deal last year with the Raiders, and that had $15 million of his contract guaranteed. He's going to get it. He has a cap hit of $14 million in 2025 this year. Okay, and then $3.16 million of guaranteed money left on the deal. If anybody out there knows what any of that means, more power to you. What I do know is I can understand this. The Raiders are saving almost $10 million by cutting him post-June the 1st. So they're going to designate it a post-June 1 cut. They're going to save themselves some money. And so he'll be on, and somebody else will pick him up, and he'll have a chance to play. Because guys like Gardner Minshew, still at that age, who've started that many games and stuff, there'll be some team somewhere that absolutely wants him in their room, either to compete with a younger player or, to push for playing time or to shore up a depth situation. So I would say he's not done by any stretch at all. All right, headlines. There you go. Brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group and Went McGee. Went, my man. Find him online at mortgagemanms.com, the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank. Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona, he has texted the show and says, I hate hotels. Unless I'm in a place for more than one day, I refuse when I'm traveling. He says, I catch a shower at a truck stop and power nap in a parking lot. Hotels, he says, are way too variable in quality for $100 plus a night, in my humble opinion. Yeah, I got to tell you, Jason, to avoid putting them on Front Street, because that wouldn't do really any good, but I stayed in a hotel recently in the Madison area. Okay, and everything about the hotel was nice, and nice people, everything's fine. Room was clean, all that. It was the worst shower I think I've ever tried to shower in. I'm talking about if the water came out of that shower any weaker, if the water pressure was any weaker, the water would not have come out. It was pitiful. And to me, that is a deciding factor on whether a hotel stinks or not. I can't stand one with a weak shower. See how spoiled I am? Now, the truck stop shower thing, I haven't done that. But I've always been curious about it because, like you'll go into one of these pilot things, and most of the time I'm going in to use the restroom, get something to drink, to eat, whatever. And I'll hear them on the PA. They'll be like, Mr. So-and-so, shower number 7 is ready. Your shower number 7 is ready. And I'm thinking, well, how many showers I got? Who's getting them ready? What is ready? Does it mean it's unlocked, or they go in there and clean it between showers? Like, what's going on here at this truck stop? I'm curious about that. I might have to try it one day just to say I did it. All right, more of your texts, and we'll be mowing basketball when we come back, State fans. I'm with you. Just hang in there. Just getting started on this Wednesday. Stick around.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I had this opportunity come up through a friend of mine that was an agent here at Farm Bureau that, he said this may be something I like to do because he knew I was involved in the community. And what we do, we're supporting the community. We're doing stuff to protect the members of our community. I've been here almost a decade. And what we do, we help people every day through the products we sell. We make recommendations to them, stuff to protect their assets, protect their lives, their families, and we're local. We're local people. Everybody that works in this office has grown up here, lived here, played ball in this community. I've coached in this community, been on the park boards, the sports league boards, the booster club boards. The community is what's important here in Farm Bureau. We push the local community. We're a Mississippi company. That's a Washington School team ball from 2019. Greg Wallace was the head coach then, and him and I were really good friends. I've been in Greenville my whole entire life. My family's been here. This is home. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to support the people of Washington County, protect them. I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County. We are the home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now.
At the Zone 1059 and coming to you worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you, rolling along here, staying connected to you because of C Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C Spire, customer inspired. Check them out at cspire.com. Hail State fan on YouTube said that the SEC Women's Hoops Tournament, Lady Vols beat Texas A&M 77-37. Boy, howdy, that was a humdinger, wasn't it? Nothing like a Wednesday morning game at the SEC Women's Tournament. It's a 40-point ball game. Nothing like it. Woo! So I guess what? Single elimination, so the A&M ladies go home, and the Lady Vols will continue on. Yeah, hey, Sven, good to see you. He said, Hail State, everybody. Guess what day it is? Hump Day. That's right. And game day. It sure is. Baseball going to play today. Big game for them, the opportunity game for State. At home, lost to Southern Miss a couple of weeks ago in the midweek, and now hosting them after going 1-2 this weekend and falling out of the rankings and facing a little adversity, and now you got to fight through it. And Southern Miss, man, they're hot as a firecracker. They got whipped. Sorry, okay, I know the difference. I just like saying whooped. They got whipped by Ole Miss in the midweek last week. I mean, just throttled up in Oxford. But turned around, went to TCU, and took a 3-game series out there, back ended it. It's just Southern Miss is a really good baseball team. And starting the year hot, and already have 1 win over State. So tonight they're going to go, or this afternoon they're going to go for 2. Okay, Hog Jowl. What's up, Mr. Hog Jowl? Good to hear from you as always. Slightly tarnished. He's still good. He's just slightly tarnished. Hog Jowl texts the show. He says, Matt, how do you figure this SEC season? Auburn gets throttled. Texas beats State. Arkansas beats a good Vandy team on the road after getting destroyed by a terrible South Carolina team. Crazy. He says, any game seems like throwing the dice. Well, you know what, Hog Jowl, that's it. I think probably the Arkansas fan base has had times where it has gone through the same cycle that the State fan base is going through and has gone through this year. The Ole Miss fan base is the same way. You know, yeah, Auburn gets whipped, but it is a good A&M team. And A&M, look at their team. They're capable of beating anybody. They've proven it. And then they've had some real ups and downs. You're exactly right. You can't figure teams out week to week, Saturday to Saturday, Wednesday to Wednesday. You cannot figure them out. You don't know what you're going to get out of them. And, I don't know what Texas's story is throughout the year, but, the big guy was good. Didn't get to play much in the first half because of foul trouble, but he's really good, hard to handle. They are long and athletic, and you watch them and you go, well, how did they win only 5 SEC games prior to this? I think it does help to add a little intrigue maybe to the upcoming SEC tournament because you get the feeling anything can happen. But, could Tennessee win the tournament? Sure. Well, not just the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament. Tennessee could win it all. Auburn could win it all. Alabama could win it all. Florida could win it all. State could make some noise and upset somebody. Ole Miss could make some noise. Can Arkansas get in? If they get in, they can make some noise. It's just, I don't know why you have that more so this year seemingly than any of the previous years, but it just seems like it's more so this year. And I don't know what you chalk that up to. But, okay, you could probably speak to it specifically as an Arkansas fan. I can as a State fan of, man, it's just, it's hard to, if you have any emotions tied up in your basketball team as a State fan, this has been tough. I mean, it has. Here's what I mean. Like, it's just, there's a little bit of torment going on because you've had some good stretches and some good wins. You've beaten Ole Miss twice. The second time you beat them, it was part of back-to-back wins over Ole Miss in their building and Texas A&M at home. There's some good. The win at Georgia for State, the 1-point win, there was a period of time it looked like a really good win. But after those back-to-back wins, State has lost 3 out of 4. Its only win was at home against LSU, and they trailed at halftime. Lost at Oklahoma, went to Tuscaloosa, got absolutely embarrassed. One of the worst losses if you were to stack up the worst losses in SEC play in program history in terms of the points allowed and the margin, that loss at Alabama, that's how bad it was. It's like they didn't even get off the bus. And then here comes a Texas team that can't play dead most of the year. And you just, you can't keep them off the three-point line. And they beat you 87-82. You missed free throws at the end. That would have changed the game. And it's just, and all of that, as frustrating as it is here lately in the second half of the year, all of that while they were good enough in the early part of the year that they're a 20-win team. They are safely in the NCAA tournament, and you know it. That's the thing for me, too, Hog Jows. This morning I'm walking around the house drinking coffee, thinking about it, going, well, ultimately, there's a difference between a 7 and an 8. I get all that. And whose quarter of the bracket you're in and everything, I get all that. But ultimately, what is the big difference? You're in the tournament. They know they are. Every player, every coach knows, every State fan knows they're in the tournament. It's almost as if all of this stuff is great. Seeding, get to play in the SEC tournament. It's all just biding the time until you start play in the NCAA tournament and we'll be interested again. It's weird. It just feels weird. And I guess maybe the reason it does is State is just not a consistent team. And they're so different than any of the recent Jans teams in that they're pretty doggone good offensively. They're just not very good defensively. They have stretches where they're good, but consistently not good defensively. Well, when's the last time you said that about a Jans team? And again, at the same time, they are in the tournament. They know it. I know it. You know it. And come March Madness, we're gonna be watching State play and reinvested and interested, and all you got to do is win by 1 and you advance. All right, Nick says this. What were we talking about when Nick texted and said, well, my friend, you have crossed the line that divides man and bum. You are now a bum. Was it the shower in the truck stop? What was it, B?
That's what Jerry told George when he grabbed the eclair out of the top of the garbage.
Okay. Jerry, so we got another Seinfeld reference there. Jerry told him, Well, my friend, you've crossed the line that divides man and bone. You're now bone. Okay. Jason in Flagstaff says, and he's quoting, I should give credit where credit is due here because he's quoting one of my favorite movies, Pete from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
That don't make no sense.
It don't make no sense how State's basketball team has been, quote, ranked almost all season, but only projected as a 7 seed for like the last month. Says quite a bit to me about what those polls are worth. Oh, yeah, the polls are worth nothing. They're worth nothing. Nothing when it comes to college basketball. MSU 1980 texts the show. He said, Matt, I totally agree with you that the amount of water coming out of the shower head is a deal breaker. Unfortunately, you can't know that until you've booked the room and gotten in there. He says there's no excuse for that to happen in this part of the country due to the abundance of fresh water. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously some sort of mechanical issue, but, oh, it was awful. I'll tell you another one that I don't run into this anymore hardly, and I probably am jinxing it right now, but do you remember 15, 20 years ago, you'd run into the issue of you'd go places and they would have, quote unquote, soft water in their showers in particular hotels? You know, that kind of water that will not wash soap off? What was that? What kind of water was that? Because it wasn't water. It was something else. Soft water. I think they've pretty much eliminated soft water, but man, it used to be rough when you get that soft water. Back when I had hair, you'd be washing your hair. Guess what? It just have soap in it. You didn't get to wash it out because the water was something called soft. Hey, according to Dog Tired in Florence, Beaver, at some point, one of these days on a slow day, we're going to have a potato chip conversation. We've had every other kind of food conversation, but not a potato chip one. He's got these Zapp's Voodoo chips, Voodoo flavor, New Orleans kettle style chips. I'm a big fan of the kettle cooked style of chips. Having had those, I now don't really want other kinds of chips. Kettle cooked has ruined it for me for all the other kind of chips. And you got you some good ones there, Dog Tired. Enjoy those for lunch and keep it right here because we got a ways to go on this Wednesday. In the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go! With the home team. Stick around.
I'm 𝐷𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐢 with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about.
Grew up on a family farm out past Leland, just born and raised here in the Mississippi Delta. Never really thought about moving out. You know, it's where my roots are. Our family's a big sports family. It's 4 boys and 1 girl, and all 4 of us boys went and played ball at Delta Community College. My dad, he's always been honestly a role model of mine. He's farmed his whole life. We attend St. James Catholic Church in Leland, where we went to church my whole life, and then now continuing my family, me and my wife and my 3 kids. Being a Christian is everything for me and my family. Being born and raised here in this area, there's just something about this area. I mean, when you pull into it, you don't see a whole lot, but being born and raised here and the farm families and just the people that grew up here, the people that you see here, you see in the grocery store, you go to church with, small town community, you're gonna run into people that you know. It puts a smile on your face knowing that you know the people in your area, in your community. Get to know them as friends and now bring them in to my office here and creating that relationship, extending it on, getting them as insureds, as customers of mine, who I call friend. I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau, and we are the home team.
Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them.
You're going to hear about them all and get to talk about it with Matt Wyatt right here, right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Back with you, I'm Matt. In the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. I'm here. Beaver's here. Most importantly, you are here. And you can be a part of the show. So if you're over there on the live stream, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, got a question, comment, opinion, otherwise, drop it in there. Anything goes. Just type it in, post it. We can see it and pop it up on the screen. And you can kind of join the conversation that way, or text me or call me. Text me on the Country Pleasing text line. Do you like good food? Do you like smoked sausage, which is under the category of good food? You can get that and really anything from Country Meat Packers on Highway 49 in Florence. If you ever go down there to the butcher market, it is incredible. I'm just telling you, it would put a hurting on my checking account if I were within just a few minutes of that place. It's the best food. So no surprise that Country Pleasing sausage comes out of there. Jalapeno cheddar, black pepper and cheddar, 3 cheese, pepper jack and green onion, duck and pork. Yeah. Anywho, text me on the Country Pleasing text line at 885-3776. That's a 601 number, 885-3776. A good way to remember that number, 885-ESPN. You can also call the show. I get to hear your voice that way, so call me. And bonus, you get to talk to Beaver first, 897-1059. That's a 601 number. Also, 897-1059. So just get on in here and be a part of the show. It's the same as, it's sort of the same as you see me and Beav hanging out and you just come over to the table, plop down, I'll pour some coffee in your mug from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. Go to highpointroasters.com and order your coffee right there and just chime in. It's like doing that, pulling up a chair at the table, just digitally. How about that? Does that work? Well, let's see, digital. No, it's still analog. The phone call deal's analog. Remotely. That's it. It's like doing that remotely. Sven, I'm starting to think that Sven over in Berlin is a health nut. Like he's a healthy guy because he says, I like good food, but no chips and fast food. He says, we cook our own food over here. Then he said, it's been at least 25 years when I last ordered some pizza. He says, we make them ourselves here, and it's better, cheaper, and I know exactly what we put in it. Well, okay. I mean, I want to go to Berlin, Germany. I want to meet Sven. I want to eat some homemade pizza. I'm going to have the full treatment there. Good stuff. Hey, and I will say, Sven, we've done that here too, especially when Mary Liddy was a little younger. We went through a spell where she really enjoyed doing that as a kid, making our own pizza at home. And it was funny because we'd all three of us, Annabeth, me, and Mary Liddy, would all make it differently. We'd make ours differently. None of us ate it the same way. And it is better, and you're right. You're able to put a thumb on exactly what's going in there. Hey, Beeve.
Hey, Matt.
Today, March the 5th, is something called National Multiple Personality Day, which reminds me of this.
It reminds me of my favorite poem, which is roses are red, violets are blue. I'm a schizophrenic, and so am I.
Now, here's the question, Beaver. Do you know what movie that's from?
Oh, was it? Well, first off, what was that? Bill Murray?
That was Bill Murray. Yes. Good on you. You could recognize the voice. Yeah.
I remember the line. Was it What About Bob?
That's it. You got it. What About Bob?
Baby steps.
You know, and here's the thing about What About Bob? That particular movie. Bill Murray, Richard Dreyfuss, Catherine Irby. I mean, it is full of big-time movie stars. Now, it came out in 1991. Okay, Beef, so you were just a youngin' when it came out. But I remember it being a big deal. Like, I don't know what it did box office-wise, but the fact that Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray were in it, it was a huge thing. And it's a really funny movie. And it was big back then, early 90s. I have not watched the movie in 30 years. I bet it's been 30 years. But that's the one thing I remember most was what you said, the whole baby steps thing, and then and then that particular joke that he was telling. He was basically an inmate in the mental hospital, or the sane, whatever you're going to call it. But he was cracking up the staff.
It reminds me of my favorite poem, which is roses are red, violets are blue. I'm a schizophrenic, and so am I.
It makes me want to go back and watch it.
You know, in that movie, I felt the same about Richard Dreyfuss's character as I do about Charles Minor from The Office.
Okay. All right.
I was because in The Office, I found myself getting mad at people who were mean to Michael.
Yeah.
And Richard Dreyfuss was mean, so mean to Bill Murray.
Yeah, he was so selfish because he didn't really want to help Bill Murray's character. He just wanted to go on vacation. That's all he wanted, and sell a book. Hey, but Beeve, all right, you brought it up, not me, okay? And I want to challenge you on something. Based on something you just said. This is not me looking for an opportunity to open an old wound with you. That's not what this is. You just brought it up, and I thought about it, so I'm going to be honest with you and shed some light on it so that you can comment, okay? You and I both, we dislike the character of Charles Minor, played by the actor, let me see if I get this right, Beeve. Idris Elba. Am I close?
You know, that's one of those I've never been sure on because we used to always say Idris, but quasi recently, I heard someone say it's pronounced Idris.
I know, yeah.
So I just don't know.
I don't know either. Well, anyway.
I'll accept either one.
Okay. Either will be accepted. Thank you, Pat. All right. But yeah, his character, Charles Minor, awful, awful character. The Office would have been better without it, in my opinion. It just didn't fit. It didn't work. But Beaver, I think part of the reason that you hate that character is because he was mean to Jim specifically. And at the same time, you claim to hate Jim and that he was, in fact, the under the surface, maybe not so visible to the naked eye, the bad guy on The Office. Yet, I think what you're saying is that Charles Minor's treatment of the character Jim, you felt sorry for Jim there a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
No, Matt Wyatt. No, because if you remember, Jim used to, when Charles Minor first came in and Jim was mocking someone, or no, he mocked Charles Minor because remember David Wallace came in and Charles Minor was kissing up to him and they pan away to the single shot in the conference room and Jim's going, he's making kiss up noises.
Right.
He's making fun of him.
Right.
But then immediately Jim started trying to kiss up to Charles Minor.
Yeah, he did.
Hypocrite.
Okay, hypocrite. But because his character thought, in order to get along in this job, to get ahead, I'm going to have to kiss this guy's rear end a little bit here. Which is sort of normal. Now, I wouldn't call it right, Beaver, but I think it is normal per American society in the workplace. Don't you think? I mean, it happens a lot, I guess is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. Have I made you uncomfortable? What is it? So what would you pinpoint, though, if I asked you that question directly, Beaver? What is it about Charles Minor, that character on The Office, that you dislike?
I think it all boiled down to he immediately came in and was... Well, Michael was planning his 15-year anniversary party, and Minor came in and shut everything down, and then he was a jerk about it, and he was trying to take over.
Yeah, okay.
So much so that it made Michael quit. So it's just the treatment of Michael Scott.
Okay.
I guess that's what it all came down to.
I can see that because he did, and Michael was going to give a little farewell goodbye, and Charles Minor shut that down too. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he began his speech, Charles Minor turns around and goes, "Nope." And you're like, "Man, I wanted to hear that." Well, okay, we're working through this. We're working through it. Yeah, hey, and Jason, I was the one confused. Nick was not doing the man versus bum thing on the showers. I wondered if that's what he was talking about. He was actually using a line from Seinfeld. He was quoting Seinfeld, which I missed the reference, fouled it all up. He wasn't talking about the truck stop showers thing. The truck stop shower thing fascinates me. I want to look into it. Do you have to be a truck driver to use them, or can anybody just go in and use them? Questions to ponder on the sports show. Hour 2 coming up right after this. Stick around. Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. Say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel,
team stuff. I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online, murraywest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I'm 𝐍𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬
Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, "Country pleasing, please." They'll know what you're talking about.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here, leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so the ability for someone to call me, get in contact with me, text me, ask me a question, and that's what it's about to me, is helping the people that we serve, is taking care of people, and them knowing that they can count on me whenever they need me. I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
.org today. Brought to you by the
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here, leading up to going to college.
1059 and worldwide.
Now, here we go.
At thezone1059.com.
All right, here we go. Hour 2. Off and running with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. They are your home team in all 82 counties around the state of Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, that's your local Farm Bureau Insurance agents. Welcome to Hour 2. Get on in here. You want some coffee? I got plenty of hot coffee. Hot coffee from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. Man, New Albany is a great town. You've been there recently? It probably looks a lot different. Parts of downtown look a lot different than it did maybe even 10 years ago, certainly 15 years ago. It's the trailhead of the Tanglefoot Trail. It's like a 40-mile trail. An old railroad bed goes all the way down to Houston, Mississippi. It's a neat thing. Really good, really cool place, too. And just right outside of town on Highway 15. They got a whole new location now. Operation moved up the road, a whole new building and location and everything for High Point Roasters. Dan, the coffee man, Dan Skinner, started that company. And I think they're the oldest coffee roaster in Mississippi, in fact. But you go to their website, highpointroasters.com. You get these great big 1-pound bags of coffee. So it may cost a few dollars more than what you're used to, but it's a lot of it. You're not going to run out anytime soon. Single origin, blends, all kinds of different flavors. And you can just choose it, and they'll ship it to your house. And you open the mailbox, you're like, oh, that smells good. Make your mailbox smell good. Get on in here. You can comment on the live stream. You can text me on the Country Pleasing text line, 885-3776. Call me on the Davini phone. Number to call, 897-1059. We'll have headlines coming up here in just a bit. We've got baseball is going to happen this afternoon here in the state of Mississippi. It'll be cold, but at least it's not going to be raining. And probably going to be windy. Both Oxford and Starkville, they're hosting baseball games. I mean, I'm not far from either one, and the wind has been really blowing today, too. So, might get interesting on a high pop fly. You just never know. Okay, I accuse Sven over in Berlin, Germany, of being maybe a health nut. He doesn't eat fast food. He doesn't eat processed food. He makes his own pizza, all that kind of stuff. But then he commented, he said, Matt, I'm the tailgate master of the Berlin Skylarks. He said, it's our local baseball team. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has ever regretted to get sausage, steak, or chili con carne from me. Well, man, I'll tell you what now, if you're tailgating and we got steak and chili con carne and we're eating sausage off the grill, then I bet it makes me want to come over there. I've actually been to Berlin. Okay, which ties into Dog Tired's question. Dog Tired in Florence, Mississippi, home of country meat packers, where country pleasing sausage comes from. He texted the show and he said, Matt, tell us about your time playing football in Germany. He said, my short time there, the bread and meat was a daily purchase for, quote, that single day. That bread was not in a plastic bag. Kind of gross. Yeah, there was some things that were different. So my experience, Dog Tired, was upon graduation. The truth about it is, before the actual graduation ceremony, my senior year of college, this would have been May of 2000, so coming up on 25 years ago, I went ahead and flew over to Hamburg, and I played in the GFL, the German Football League, the GFL, for the Hamburg Blue Devils, and played there for 1 year. And then came home, and I did get a job immediately after that first year. Came home in 2001, got a job, and right after I got the job, the phone rang, and it was the team in the GFL from Munich, and it was their head coach with the opportunity to come back and play for them. But I turned it down because I had decided I wanted to go ahead and begin working, and I just wanted to fish all the time. I wanted to fish tournaments. I wanted to be a pro bass fisherman and do a TV show. And since then, I've always regretted that, because at the time I was young and in good shape and could have still played ball, and here's an opportunity, somebody wanting to pay you to come do it and see another part of the world, and I should have gone back. I should have gone back and done that because, those opportunities as an athlete are fleeting. It's a really short period of time in your life. Really, no matter how good you are or aren't, it's over in a blink. I should have taken advantage of that. But anyway, what's the point in regretting it? So, yeah, I don't think I've ever been to Munich, but I did go to Berlin once. Took about a 2-week vacation that year during the middle of the year. I think it was kind of in the middle of the summer with some other guys on the team. One was a guy who, from the University of Cincinnati, and another guy from Central Florida. And we traveled together and went all over Europe and saw different things. And like we left Hamburg and we didn't come back for like 2 weeks, just traveling and seeing. And so that would have been, that was in 2000. So we were still having to exchange currency every time we would pop over into a new country over there, which was often. It was before the Euro. And so that was a pretty interesting experience too. But I'm jumping ahead. But the reason I said that is because during that 2-week jaunt all over the place, seeing different places in different countries, and we did spend one night in Berlin at the apartment of one of our teammates who lived there in the off season. He wasn't there, but he's like, hey, here's the code, go in. Tell so-and-so that you're there. Y'all can spend the night there. It saved us a hotel cost. And the next day we went to Switzerland to see one of our coaches who was down there. But anyhow, the football was interesting. I guess there's lots of different stories I could tell. For the Hamburg team, we practiced at I guess you would call it like a big country club complex in Hamburg that included some big soccer fields, but it was kind of like a members only type thing, so it wasn't available to the public. That's where we practiced for the most part. And then we played our games in the big soccer arena / stadium in Hamburg. And it was a big stadium. Like, it'd seat 50,000 people for soccer, and had the big awnings stretched out 360 around the top of the stadium. It was open, but had the awnings, it was pretty cool. And I've seen that stadium on TV some over the last ever how many years of, they'll broadcast soccer matches in that stadium. But it was neat. The football in that GFL back then, you could only have, the rules of the league were you could only have a certain number of American players on your team. I think it was maybe 8 or 9 was the max. And so all of us that were American players, our jerseys had a big letter A over one shoulder. And that was so, you'd have to declare it, and you couldn't cheat, and you could see that you didn't have more Americans on your team than you were supposed to. And the rest of the team was made up of, German players who'd come up through club teams over there, and other, players from other countries who they would compete in NFL Europe and then come and play on our teams and stuff. It was fun. But the experience of living there was, different. It's one of those where if I were going through it now, I would probably be able to enjoy it more and really soak it up more. Not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just I spent a good bit of the time that I was there being homesick. Because if I'm being honest, and I do regret this, right? Because again, it's one of those once in a lifetime experiences. I mean, how often does a person have an opportunity, whether it's a job, career, whatever, or sports, where someone says, come to this European city, live here, we will pay for your place to live, a really nice apartment. We will also pay you a salary to come and do what you love to do and live here. I mean, it's once in a lifetime, and I should have seen it more for that. But, you know, I guess to a fault, Dog Tired, I've always been someone who I never struggle, it seems, to make a decision on if I'm in or if I'm out on something. That has something that comes natural to me. It always has. Is in the middle of any situation, I feel like for me, internally in my head, I will clearly draw a line and I will clearly make a decision if I'm in or out. And if I'm in, I will be all in. And if I'm out, I will be all out. Moderation and a little here and a little there, it doesn't work for me. It never has. And so I don't fool with it. And that's good. It can be very good because there are some things that when you get in, you need to be all in. 100% and no moderation. And there are some things that when you're out, you need to be out, 100% out, no moderation. But it can also backfire and go the other way when you have that trait. Like you can decide one day that you're in on something you don't need to be in. And, you know, so just good or bad. But like I think what happened with me was during the course of being over there, the people were really nice. The team owner, he was a music industry guy who owned the team. Our team offices were like in the music production company offices and stuff. We were always seeing interesting things in the offices. But they were really nice people. Coaches were really nice. Yeah, and I liked everybody. And not long into it, I think what happened to me is I'm living in Hamburg, Germany. I'm playing on this football team, but I made the decision sort of in my head. I just drew that line. I thought, you know what? I don't want to be here. I'm out. I just don't want to be here. I was, you know, consumed with hunting, fishing, primarily fishing. I had a boat and I'd done some tournament fishing while I was still in college. And that's all I was thinking about at the time. And I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that my truck and my boat were parked at my grandmother's house in Clanton, Alabama, just sitting there waiting on me. And my mom was recording the Saturday morning fishing shows on ESPN2 on VHS tape and shipping them to me in Hamburg so that I could watch them. I'd get them like 2 weeks later. And so whenever I was at home, that's what I do. I'd pop those tapes and I'm watching, you know, the Bassmasters coverage or Jimmy Houston and Roland Martin and those shows, you know. And I think while I was there, I didn't fully just soak in and experience the experience like I could have or should have during the time that I was there, because I hit a point where I kind of felt guilty for being halfway into the football thing and they're paying me and I'm playing, but not being really committed to it as much as I knew you should be if you're going to be on a team and be the quarterback of the team. You know, I'd never been that way before. And this whole having one foot in and kind of having one foot out spiritually, mentally, it felt awful. And so when the year was up, that's when I got out of there. And, so I guess, you know, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some regret for not maybe handling it better while I was there during that time. And I would have enjoyed it more, but I still did enjoy it. Now, some people that, I got to meet and was really fond of, and some teammates who, we're still Facebook friends over here, 25 years later, and watch their kids grow up and all that kind of stuff. Wished I'd made more, built more relationships with more people while I was there. And again, I was really young. Yes, I'd say young, you're fresh out of college, but you're still young and don't have a whole lot of experience back then. And all I could think about after getting there and being there for a while, I got to a point where all I could really think about was getting back home. And, it's one thing, too, to be in a position where you can just get in your car and go home versus you're on another continent and it's going to be a long trip, and involving passports and everything else to get back home. So that was different. And you think about it too, in that experience, that was 2000. Well, I didn't have a cell phone. I think actually that I borrowed. There was someone who agreed to let me borrow their laptop computer for a year. And I took it with me so that I could email mom and dad, back and forth. It's a 7-hour difference, so the phone call thing was always a little iffy too, when you just pick up the phone and call. And there's no FaceTime, there's nothing like that too, right? So I went a year without seeing their faces. So yeah, it was just it was a good experience in a lot of ways. Now on the food thing, for me, dog tired, being on that team, they fed us really well. We had training table stuff and all that, but like at home at the apartment, I lived on the 6th floor of an apartment building, like downtown Hamburg. And it's a huge place, huge city. Millions and millions of people in the city of Hamburg, right? And I'm on the 6th floor of this apartment building. It was a really nice apartment. But get this, there was no elevator. Right. It's 6 flights of stairs coming home or leaving. So I had a lot of times where, I might want something to eat, but I didn't want to walk down and up them 6 flights of stairs every time I just got a little hungry, right? So we'd stock up, make a trip, and I'd stock up. And I did a whole lot of cooking in the apartment. And it was, back then you're an athlete and you're measuring your body fat all the time. And so it's a lot of grilled chicken, baked chicken, and just very basic stuff. You're not really eating for taste. You're just eating to fill up so you're not hungry anymore and put the right stuff in your body. So, I'm sure my eating experience is a lot different than a lot of other people. And there were less restaurant experiences for me over there because, again, I'm on a team and they're just always feeding us. Yeah. Yeah, okay, Sven, I'm saying compared to Tupelo. Sven said, Hamburg is big since when? They have like 1.3 million people in Hamburg. He said, come to Berlin, we have a little bit more. Okay, I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, that was the name of it, Sven. What, Volkspark Stadium? That's the other thing, too. You could look it up maybe and find. There might be somewhere on the internet where there's pictures of those uniforms that we used to wear in that GFL back then. There's other guys from around here who played on one or two of the teams over there. But, yeah, you'd have sponsors all over your football uniform. Again, it's 25 years ago, but our team there in Hamburg, we had on the side of our helmet was the logo of the team, the Blue Devils logo. But on the front of the helmet was this big circular logo. It said Ford. The Ford oval logo, a big Ford on the front of our helmet. Ford Motors. And then there was several other sponsors all over our jerseys, like some website. Yeah, so it was all that kind of stuff. All right, over to the phone. Story time over. Over to the phone, the Davini Equipment phone line. Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. Your Kubota dealer. The oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S., in fact. Means they've been doing it better, longer than anybody else right here at home at Davini. More Bully on line 1. What's up, More Bully?
It's me. It's MWRE. What's going on?
What's up? You got some energy today.
Hey, I need to ask Beaver one thing.
Okay.
I got to ask Beaver one thing real quick. Hey, Beaver, was that less than a minute?
Yeah, that was less than a minute.
What are you talking about? Less than a minute what?
That I was on hold.
Well, bless your heart.
We have a running bet.
Oh, you do?
Every time I call, we're like, let's see if he'll get to you.
Well, but here's the thing about it, More Bully. Not to pick on you, but it ain't like you got anything else to do.
I'm about to get me a piece of wood cut at Lowe's. So I got something to do.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay. All right.
Hey, I'm going to tell you a similar story to your football story. My son was about 2, And I was traveling from Alabama all the way over to Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
And I would travel 3 to 4 times a week. And I got to the point where I'm like, I can't miss all this stuff in his life. Like, I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
My dad was a hard worker, owned a restaurant, you know, and he was a good dad, don't get me wrong. And he coached me in baseball and all that good stuff. But I just said, I'm not going to do it.
Mm.
And I didn't have a job lined up, and I just said, I got to go. And I did.
Yeah.
And never looked back.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. You know, and maybe it's homesick, but also, you know, sometimes more, Bully, let's be honest. Sometimes it's a thing where the Lord, the Holy Spirit himself will put something in your gut that's telling you, hey, go. And you kind of know it, and you just gotta follow it. It's hard to explain, but that's just the way it is.
Well, I'll be honest with you. That just happened to me.
Yeah.
In October. And I didn't like what was happening in my professional world.
Yeah.
And I just said, okay, I can't do this anymore.
Uh-huh.
And I hadn't worked since October.
See, I told you didn't have anything to do. I'm kidding.
I know. I gotta get this wood cut. But I'm starting a new job this month, so it's really good what he put in my lap. So it's good. But I have a question. You're about the only person I can talk to on sports radio about this.
Oh, really?
Who do you like at Bay Hill this weekend?
Tiger. Is he playing?
You know what? I was going to say the same thing. I really was.
Hey, if Tiger's not in it, I may not watch. I don't care if he shoots 100.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, we got to split.
Scotty plays well there.
We got to split.
Scotty plays well there.
Yeah, that's right. Scotty. He's in it. Okay. All right.
You can't do it, but I'd like to see Roy.
Man, ever since Coach got his new phone from
I'm
Ceasefire?
𝐍𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬
Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I had this opportunity come up to a friend of mine that was agent here at Farm Bureau that, he said this may be something I like to do because he knew I was involved in the community. And what we do, we're supporting the community. We're doing stuff to protect the members of our community. I've been here almost a decade. And what we do, we help people every day through the products we sell. We make recommendations to them, stuff to protect their assets, protect their lives, their families, and we're local. We're local people. Everybody that works in this office is grown up here, lived here, played ball in this community. I've coached in this community, been on the park boards, the sports league boards, the booster club boards. The community is what's important here in Farm Bureau. We push the local community. We're a Mississippi company. That's a Washington School team ball from 2019. Greg Wallace was the head coach then, and him and I were really good friends. I've been in Greenville my whole entire life. My family's been here. This is home. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to support the people of Washington County, protect them. I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County. We are the home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now.
Worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Back with you, I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Thanks to Moore Bully for the phone call earlier. Yeah, the hard break cut us off there at the end. Good to hear from the, what does he call himself again? It's me. The MOORE. My man. And got some new things around the corner, so good for him. If you're listening, you can be a part of the show too. Call me on that Divinity phone, 897-1059, or text me on the Country Pleasing text line, 885-3776. Comment on the live stream. I told you that over here on YouTube, Sven said, Hamburg's big, huh? Since when? They got like 1.3 million people. Come to Berlin. We have a little bit more. Will said, it's big for Mississippi, Sven. I mean, the state of Mississippi has just slightly less than 3 million people total. And you're talking about, well, what does it have actually? Hang on. I'm looking it up right now. Hamburg population, 1.9 million. That was as of 2022. So who knows what it, 1.9 million. Now, what does this mean, though, when it says metro population is 5.4 million? The Hamburg metropolitan region has a population of over 5.1 million. Eighth largest metropolitan region by GDP in the European Union. Okay, so 1.9 proper in the city. Include the suburbs, you're talking about over 5 million. Okay, and again, I'm state of Mississippi, the whole thing slightly less than 3 million. What is that compared to Berlin? Hold on, I'll tell you. I'll just tell you what the internet says. We'll trust it for what it's worth. So proper Berlin is 3.4 million. So not quite double what Hamburg has proper, but Berlin's metro pop is 6.1. A lot of people over there crammed into. I mean, it ain't that big. It's really not that big, is it, Sven? I mean, they got them crammed in there, though, for sure. Hey, let's cram in some headlines here, hour number 2.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines presented by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank right here in Mississippi. My man Went. Where you at, Went? Baseball. You're going to have baseball, midweek baseball, in Starkville and in Oxford. 17th ranked Ole Miss is hosting Murray State today at 4 at Swayze. And unranked Mississippi State is hosting 20th ranked Southern Miss at 4 at Duty Noble Field. And so we're going to get some baseball to watch this afternoon. D1 baseball's got LSU ranked number 1. They're playing North Dakota State tonight. Big game in Tuscaloosa midweek. 23rd ranked Alabama hosting 19th ranked Troy. And Troy recently won at Mississippi State. So there you go. You also have college basketball tonight you might want to watch. Ole Miss at home tonight hosting 4th ranked Tennessee. Vols come in there at 11-5 in the SEC, 24 wins overall, ranked in the top 5. And there's a big game in Tuscaloosa tonight in basketball too. 7th ranked Alabama hosting 5th ranked Florida. That's at 6 on ESPN2. By the way, the Ole Miss game is also on ESPN2. So the way they've got it scheduled for now is Alabama and Florida, ESPN2 at 6, and then right after that, Ole Miss and Tennessee, ESPN2 at 8. How about that? So you got 2 games, 4 ranked teams in Tuscaloosa, basketball and baseball tonight. I had this headline for you earlier today. One of our local guys in the NFL. The Raiders are expected to release quarterback Gardner Minshew when free agency begins next week. That's according to ESPN. 28 years old, signed with the Raiders last year. He had a $15 million of his contract, a 2-year deal with the Raiders that was guaranteed. Raiders are saving themselves a little over $9 million. They're going to make him a post-June 1 cut. And at 28, Minshew is he'll land on his feet, so he'll be on somebody's team if he just wants to be. There'll be either a team that wants him to, compete with a young guy or push for playing time or add to their depth, and because you do have injuries and you have an experienced guy there, so somebody's going to have him in a uniform next year for sure. It's just a matter of who, what, when, and where. This ESPN article, it pointed out that he struggled in his starting role last year. He threw for 2,000 yards, 9 TDs, 10 picks in 10 games, 9 starts, had a season-ending collarbone injury against the Broncos. That was in November. But it ain't like the Raiders were any good. They weren't. And, better situation, I think. Minshew can play, and they know it. He'll have a job when it's all said and done. Now, here's one. I want to include this. Look at this. There is an article. We'll put this in the headlines, okay? Presented by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank, 𝐌𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐢 Company. There's an article on ESPN that says NIL contracts raise big questions on employment. Dan Murphy, he is an ESPN staff writer. He commented on this on X. Before I get into the details that are in the article, here's what he said. He commented on it. I don't know if Dan wrote it or not, but he works for the same company that did write it. He said the NCAA and its schools remain adamant that college athletes shouldn't be employees. But the details of the contracts they're signing now with their players could undermine that argument in court. And I guess in court being the key phrase right there. Now, who would want to take it to court? I don't know. If the players or the athletes are getting their cake and eating it too, then they wouldn't want to take it to court. If the ones who are on the other side of those contracts, the other party, the schools, they don't want it to get into a court and have it decided that they are employees, they wouldn't want it to go to court. So who would determine whether or not something like this wound up in a court? Because there's no plaintiff. Doesn't seem like to me at the moment. Okay, but listen to this. So we've talked about contracts, right? And if you just look at the surface of college athletics as it is right now in every major sport, if you just look at it on the surface, what have you said? What have we said? What's everybody saying? They're saying this right here. Man, it's not so much that you're having to pay them to play. It's the combination of that and the wide open transfer portal that is really causing an issue. It's the double whammy, right? Because there doesn't have to really be any commitment. We even have stories like the big offensive lineman from Alabama who left Alabama, went to, I think it was Iowa, took their money and never played it down for Iowa and went back to Alabama. It's asinine. And so therefore, the fact that there's no transfer rules, there's no, transfer up, down, lateral rules like there used to be to curb some of this wide open free agency, since we've got money involved now, wide open free agency, 365 days a year with no rules around it. Okay, and everybody says, since that's the case, you've got to have binding contracts in some way. You can't ask your fan base, okay, for money to pay these players and then have no way to sign a contract to ensure that the player actually plays for you. Let alone for an amount of time, a period of time. So you got to have contracts. Well, if you do that, you're treating them like pros. Well, we don't want them to be pros. Why don't the schools and the NCAA want them to be employees / pros? It's because the majority of the schools and the universities are classified with the federal government and the IRS as nonprofit 501c3s. That's the answer. You go, yeah, but Nuance says they can pay people to do stuff. They pay staff and professors. Yes, but it's all filed under this phrase of it's towards the university's stated mission or stated purpose. Well, is having a successful football team, for that? No. You can go read it for yourself. The headline says NIL contracts have employment and pay for play all over them, according to experts. Go read it. See what you think. We'll see where that goes. Again, it's kind of like a bunch of quote unquote experts who stand around and look up and they go, hey man, the sky is blue. The sky is blue? Yep, and water's wet. Quote, experts. All right, a little bit of time left with you here in hour number 2 of the show in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Stick around.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. When I say they do quality stuff, they really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough.
you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West. You can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I had this opportunity come up to a friend of mine that was an agent here at Farm Bureau that, you know, he said this may be something I like to do because he knew I was involved in the community. And what we do, we're supporting the community. We're doing stuff to protect the members of our community. I've been here almost a decade. And what we do, we help people every day through the products we sell. We make recommendations to them, stuff to protect their assets, protect their lives, their families, and you know, we're local. We're local people. Everybody that works in this office has grown up here, lived here, played ball in this community. I've coached in this community, been on the park boards, the sports league boards, the booster club boards. The community is what's important here in Farm Bureau. We push the local community. We're a Mississippi company. That's a Washington School team ball from 2019. Greg Wallace was the head coach then, and him and I were really good friends. I've been in Greenville my whole entire life. My family's been here. This is home. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to support the people of Washington County, protect them. I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County. We are the home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. What that is. That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now.
And what you think right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. We've still got a little bit of time left here with you. Yeah, there's a few lines from this story. Go look it up. Again, you know, if I need someone to tell me that water is wet, then it's really my fault. And so I can either be unknowingly ignorant of the fact that water is wet, or I can be willingly blind to the idea that water is wet. And I think what you have in the case of NIL/pay for play / the reality that now they really are, you know, in every applicable way, they're like highly paid employees, but we don't want them to officially be for some technical reasons that could be very earth-shattering to the whole educational industry, if you want to call it that. And so this story today at ESPN sort of throws some light on that. The headline says, NIL contracts have employment and pay for play all over them, experts say. Some college athletes are being asked to sign away the rights to their own tattoos. At least one college wants to sell the rights to its players' dance moves. That's a pretty good opening line, isn't it? NCAA schools are going to contractual extremes when it comes to the name, image, and likeness deals that they are now signing in the expected new era of direct college payments to athletes, you know, revenue share. The deals, which could become effective this summer, are designed to be generous enough so that athletes will commit to a school, but also stringent enough to stop the constant churn of transfers that has introduced upheaval in college sports. Okay, I get it. Hey, and commend it to everybody who's trying to figure out a way to make this thing palpable for everybody involved, where it just makes sense, right? Like the working world that we understand. if money is exchanging hands, there got to be some terms we agree to, both sides. And if both sides don't agree to it, then the money doesn't exchange hands. It says here that school lawyers are constructing NIL contracts that are, they're basically exerting control over athletes without making them official college employees. But experts who are reviewing a sampling of these things, they said more than a dozen of these NIL contracts, ESPN got their hands on them. These experts, it'd be lawyers and otherwise, are saying that these deals bear, here I'm reading it, here it is, bear the hallmarks of employment contracts. You tell again, wait a minute, you're saying water's wet? Huh? The fact that you have a contract to begin with bears the hallmark of employment. I mean, let's be honest. Employment, some sort of agreement. Right? I'm talking about, I know scenarios where there's an employment agreement and there is no written contract. We're talking about written ones here. Written contracts, deals. But boy, howdy, they not employees. We sure don't want that. And the commissioner would stand up and go, I've not talked to one student athlete who wants to be an employee of that. I bet not. If I had my cake and I could eat it too, I wouldn't want that to change either. But anyway, moving on. Okay. Today in sports, as far as I'm concerned, this was a big deal. On this day, March the 5th, 1964, the NFL and their teams collectively purchased Blair Motion Pictures, which was owned and operated and founded by Ed Sable, and it was renamed NFL Films.
Football in America is a special game, a unique game, played nowhere else on earth. It is a rare game. The men who play it make it so.
Yes. So Ed Sable was the dad, right? And then, so that was 1964. And who was the son? What was his first name? Sable. Craig, maybe? Or Greg Sable? Passed
Steve.
away. Steve, thank you, Beaver. That's right, I was drawing a blank. Steve kind of took it over and operated, ran it during the time that the NFL owned it. And boy, howdy, was it ever good. He had a great voice, and sadly, we lost him a few years ago. But the soundtrack of NFL Films going back to the 60s, 70s, the announcers, the voiceovers, the storytelling, the Raiders. It's just, I think in the sports world anyway, it's sort of incomparable. And it's a brilliant deal. Again, and I don't guess I realized that it went back that far. So we're talking about Ed Sable and that company, Blair Motion Pictures, was doing stuff with them before 1964. And it was just in 64 when the NFL bought it, renamed it NFL Films, and continued to roll. Hired all those guys, just worked for them and continued to do it. And instead of original films and that sort of thing, they're just covering the NFL. It was really a smart deal on their part. Glad it happened. All right, let's see what else. On this day in 1991, Reggie Miller, the Indiana Pacers, began his NBA free throw streak of 52 games. What was his streak? What, he made one for 52 straight games, or he didn't miss one for 52 straight games? Which one? It says NBA free throw streak. I guess not missing one for 52 games. That's hard to imagine. 2 years later on this day, March the 5th, sprinter Ben Johnson was banned from racing for life by the Amateur Athletic Association after testing positive for banned performance-enhancing substances for a second time. 2 years after that, on this day in 1995, Dennis Rodman, Chicago Bulls, was suspended by the NBA for one game after deliberately elbowing Milwaukee's Joe Wolf. I don't remember that. I missed it. I don't know why, but I missed it. Let's see. Dog tired in Florence. He texts the show, Country Pleasing text line. He said a problem with the NIL is that it is based on knee-jerk funding. These $1 million contracts may not be available in 5 years. The trust fund of a millennial may not be capable of sustaining a couple-decade onslaught. I see what you mean. Yeah, like what's the long-term situation? You know, anybody willing to pile up their money and you know, pay players to come and try to take advantage of the free-for-all has been able to do that pretty well. You know, and everybody has tried to at some point. Will commented on YouTube. He said, to your point, Matt, Quinn Ewers reclassified and graduated high school to get paid to play at Ohio State. But after 1 year riding the bench with the Buckeyes, he transferred to Texas and kept the money. And then he says OSU got the last laugh, though, on that one. They did ultimately, right? Yeah. But, you know, and here's the thing, Will, I guess a lot of people in that world, in the big donor world and in the big collective world and the pay-for-play world in college athletics would probably admit behind a closed door that losing several million on flaky athletes who just transfer after they get some money and don't ever even play for you is cost of doing business. I would think that that's probably what they would tell you. So it's a weird time, you know. Everybody's just watching it and see what happens. Anybody going to do anything? I don't know. Probably, you know, the best sign that nobody's going to do anything about it probably was the fact that you know, from the word go, they've been a bunch of them going and appealing to Congress. Please do something from an oversight standpoint, because we cannot provide oversight to ourselves. So it's kind of funny, but I think that's probably just the reality of it. All right, enjoy your Wednesday baseball and basketball tonight. We'll reconvene tomorrow after we see the results, and we'll talk about it. Who knows how you're going to feel this time tomorrow? Have to come back to see. For Beaver, I'm Matt. All of us here on the show in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. See you tomorrow.